A husband abandoned his wife and kids shortly after an accident, but a few years later, he ran into her in a park. The former couple now had new lives, and the husband felt bad seeing his ex-wife with another man. Amelia Raymonds was a very pretty girl who had it great from her childhood. She was from a middle-class family, and they cherished formal education. While growing up, she excelled in class, which made her family proud. Things were not bad for the straightest student as a senior high school student or college student. She had a charming personality and good looks that merged perfectly with her intelligence. Before we continue, please take some time to subscribe to Dailydose, like, and share this video with your friends. It might brighten their day and inspire them to do good. Also keep watching because an important lesson awaits at the end of the video. Her love life was also fantastic. She would often go for the most reserved guy in class. However, after her last experience, which didn't end well, Amelia decided to leave her options open. Rather than settle for the nerdy type of guy, she wanted someone more outgoing. The young beauty set a timeline for accomplishing her goals, and according to her, being married 2 years after college was perfect. She wanted to have kids during her 20s and settle into family life before most of her friends. 2 months before she finished college, Amelia stepped out for an all-girls night out. There she met her Prince Charming Bill. He was everything she wanted in a man, and 2 minutes into their conversation, she knew he was the one. A short time after their first meeting, they became romantically involved. Bill found Amelia smart and enchanting. He had a job as an architect and could afford an apartment. The bachelor did not waste any time after finding his Cinderella. 5 months after their relationship kicked off, he proposed to her, and as expected, she said yes. Amelia and Bill settled in Orange County, Florida. They were one of the youngest couples in the neighborhood, and everyone admired the young lovers. They went on to have 2 boys, and life seemed very easy, comfortable, and happy for these two, until years later when Bill lost his job. His compassion dwindled, so did his tolerance level. He snapped, yelled, and cursed every minute, mostly at his wife. The former architect never heeded Amelia's advice. He ruled them unreasonable and blamed her for losing his job. This continued for days, weeks, months, which soon turned into years. But Amelia always thought she had a role as a wife to be supportive no matter the situation. So she worked passionately in interior design and continued to support her family. However, after 2 years, Bill's pessimism and negativity began to weigh her down. She confided in a close friend, Rebecca, a single mother who fended for her little daughter. "Becky, I think I'm starting to lose it," Amelia said. A seemingly worried Rebecca glanced at her friend. She now looked pale and glaringly worried. Still, Rebecca asked, "Oh dear, why? Is this about Bill or the boys? You know teenage boys can be a handful. It's everything about Bill. He seems to yell at me every second of the day and never shows remorse whenever the dust settles. He seems to see me as the cause of his misery, his joblessness," Amelia answered. Her friend was a bit relieved. At least he was not hitting her or avoiding the home. So she quickly shunned her, saying, "My friend, you really have to be patient. You are lucky, at least, your kids have a father. After all, some people have it worse," referring to her personal ordeal. Amelia inhaled and exhaled loudly, then concluded that it was no use letting her single friend in on her marital woes. "Some have it worse, I guess. But I know Bill is not the same man I married," she said. On the eve of their 12th wedding anniversary, Amelia considered taking her beloved husband out on a date. She scheduled a reservation at an exquisite restaurant, and when she arrived home, told her husband about it. Bill did not see anything special about the eve of their anniversary, but he obliged to the treat. After all, it was his wife who would sort out the bill. The pair got into the car, drove to the spot, and had what appeared as a great night. On their way home, she talked to him about a job vacancy at an architectural company. Bill fit the job descriptions, but the pay was about $1,000, not big enough for him. The couple argued about this in the car for a while. Eventually, Bill started to talk down on his wife. He described her with demeaning adjectives, adding that he had his life, their lives, figured out. "You are pathetic. I don't need your advice. I can deal with it on my own," he yelled. This seemed rather unbelievable, as Amelia thought that all she was showing were genuine concerns, especially since they had two fast-growing sons and needed to start saving for their college. At some point, the argument became heated, with Amelia deciding that she had had enough. However, as she noticed Bill's constant bickering and reckless driving, she submitted to his harsh words and called a truce. This angered Bill, who felt belittled. He continued to nag and failed to pay attention to the road, swerving into oncoming traffic. Before his wife could scream the words, "Watch out!" their vehicle collided with another, and it somersaulted. Hours later, Amelia woke up feeling pains around her head and upper body, but felt numb downwards. She opened her eyes to tubes and syringes clawing deep into her skin and realized that she had been involved in a terrible accident. Her first reaction was to call out to a nurse and ask about her husband's safety. A few minutes later, her husband emerged with a doctor. His head had been wrapped in a medical band. To her relief, he had not been hurt. Bill asked the doctor about his wife's prognosis and learned that she would never be able to walk again. Without wasting time, he walked over to the woman and screamed, "You hear that? You will never be able to walk again, and that might affect us. I mean, how will you go to work?" This appalled the medics around. They felt pity for their patient and could see how bad and hurt Amelia felt. She could not control her tears. What was more painful was not her inability to walk, but Bill's reaction. A few days after they returned home, Bill packed his bags and announced to his wheelchair-bound wife and two sons, Harry and Sam, that he would be leaving them for good. The father of two admitted he could not live with a disabled person and needed a refreshing start. This tore Amelia apart. However, she resolved to focus on her kids or risk losing them to social services. And that was another horror she could not afford. She braced herself and spoke to her kids lovingly, assuring them that everything would be okay in due time, saying, "It's gonna be okay. Kids, we have each other." The boys nodded in agreement, and Harry, the oldest, said, "We can do without him. Mom, you deserve better." This lightened Amelia's heart, and she promised to make them smile again. From that day onwards, the trio worked as a team. When Harry became a senior, he found a job. His brother took care of the house chores, while their mom furthered her business, virtually from home. This positive aura made Amelia believe the impossible, that she could walk again. She began booking visits at a nearby hospital and continued to try to walk again. On one occasion, she was trying to maneuver down the ramp after her session at the hospital when she fell off a wheelchair. Thankfully, there was a stranger nearby. He was a young Dr. John, who recently resumed work at the hospital. John aided the woman, and soon enough, a friendship was born. He referred Amelia to a personal physiotherapist who helped her walk again. It did not take long before the new friends developed feelings for each other. This time, Amelia was with a man who appreciated her through her flaws, and it made her feel safer. Back at home, the boys felt comfortable with John, and they established a great connection. Harry and Sam needed a father figure, which they got from hanging out with their mom's new man. 3 weeks after their romance blossomed, the couple decided to take a refreshing walk in the park. There, they ran into Bill. He looked unrecognizable, poor, and shabby. When Bill saw his ex-wife, he froze in shock. "How? You're walking. How is that possible?" he asked, tearfully. Amelia, surprised by how horrible her ex looked, answered him, "I guess there's nothing one can achieve when they have the right support from loved ones." The mother of two narrated how it happened and what she and the kids had to go through after Bill left. She further explained how powerful love and support are. She added that if Bill had been patient enough to understand, things could have turned out just fine. "I'm sorry, Amelia. I truly am. I was foolish, arrogant, stupid, and unreasonable. I realize how much I hurt you when we were together," Bill said, clearly trembling. "If only you could find it in your heart to forgive me. I know I don't deserve it, but it really mean a lot if you could. At least, that'd be one burden off me," he ended. Amelia was almost sobbing, mostly out of pity for how Bill looked and partly because all the horrible things she went through with him came flashing back. However, she was in a better place now, and she didn't want anything to rob her of her newly found happiness. "It's okay, Bill. I forgive you, but I do not speak for the kids. You're going to have to ask for their forgiveness too," Amelia said. "Thank you. Thank you so much, Amelia. May I see the boys? I hope they can forgive me," Bill said, worried. Amelia and John had a private chat, and they agreed to go back to the house together to give Bill a chance to fix things with Harry and Sam. Bill was more than grateful for their consideration, and they all went back to the house.